find all of WNUR Sports' content in one convenient place.
Aha! Why, I know where. Skedaddle over to WNURsports.com, your online hub for everything WNUR Sports.
How bodacious! What might one encounter in this magical digital destination?
Updated broadcast schedules, social media posts, articles, and everything your heart desires. So head over to WNURsports.com and find happiness.
Welcome back to Obscure Ballers. I'm Tomas Moran.
I'm Sivaraman.
And we are here for another episode, a fifth episode in Obscure Ballers.
One where we finally figured out, with plenty of time remaining, how to actually set up this stream. So
yes,
we are flying. We are
Absolutely.
flying so far. We have two fantastic guests on with us today. Yhonathan, Yehudai, and Yoni Zacks.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Glad to have, again, two freshmen for the second week in a row. You guys, we sent out the email for you guys to sign up, and you responded, I think, within
2 minutes.
2-3 minutes.
It was insane.
So we have,
2 minutes.
You know, even 5 weeks in, we have super fans, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal. Well, without further ado, we're gonna get into our this theme for our episode today is politics in sports. Now, everyone always says, shut up and dribble, keep politics out of sports. But we here at Obscure Ballers truly believe that, politics is inherent to sports. It's how it's a way of understanding the world around us and making sense of kind of the world and really a place where people around the world can have a voice. And so we are looking forward to putting a spotlight on some of those fantastic stories that are examples of that today. But starting off with a segment that is devoid of any theme, Obscure Ballers of the Week, which is just a chance to highlight a relatively unknown sports person, as always, player, coach, athletic trainer, student manager, South American vice president. That's coming later, though.
That is gonna come.
Who made a name for themselves for you that week. Tomas, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I'd love to get us started. First of all, I must mention, unfortunately, that the Saints did win a football game today. But hey, Bears Saints in a couple of weeks. All right, we'll see what happens there. But regardless, my Obscure Baller of the Week will be actually, I guess, a team. Northwestern Cross Country. So the Cats actually did fantastic this week. They finished second at the Loyola Lakefront Invitational in Chicago. So they have 3 top 2 finishes to start the year. So a fantastic start to the season. They only finished second to North Carolina, which is the second-ranked cross-country team in the nation. So fantastic job there from the Cats. And I'd also like to quickly shout out the football team for getting a win and being above 500. I mean, come on.
It's the little things in life.
Hey, 3-2. Hayden Elegon with 80 yards, career high for him. Huge game. So shout out.
And favorites going into Penn State, I say.
No. Some say. Penn State's no longer ranked. We're no longer ranked. All right. They have 0 conference wins. We have 1 conference win. We've played the same opponents. I don't know. But yeah. So shout out to the Cats.
All right. I'll throw it over to Yoni then.
So mine is actually kind of a negative impression. It's of Ben McDonald, who was the MLB analyst for the Cubs and the Padres series. And one of the things that they were doing is they were doing an ad read for the NHL because their opening night is on Tuesday. I'm a huge hockey fan. I love hockey. I'm really excited. I've been counting down the days for a while. But when asked if he was going to watch the hockey, Ben McDonald said that there was a 0% chance that he would actually be watching. And I don't care if he's going to watch. He's an MLB analyst, so his hockey opinion doesn't really matter. But it only matters when you are on contract for ESPN, because ESPN has the rights to the NHL. And if you have ESPN talent saying that they're not going to listen to hockey, it's usually not a good thing.
No disrespect whatsoever, but you're a baseball analyst. And, in terms of, what is a bigger burden for you to watch on a given night? 9 innings of baseball or 3 periods of hockey. One just takes significantly less time than the other. I will go, and I'll send it over to Yhonathan. For my Obscure Ball of the Week, I'm going with someone who, when we were going and making this show, the ideal, guy, who I had in mind, was a guy like Jerry Neuheisel. Yeah. The tight ends coach for UCLA, former UCLA QB, goes in with the program in absolute shambles. Probably the worst run football program in the country right now for its size.
Yeah.
You know, and 0-4 lost to Northwestern, which is like signs of death. You know, and he goes in and he beats Penn State, right? Like how? Like what? And going back into his career, he was when he was a QB for UCLA, a backup, came in, made his moment, count against Texas and beat them with like 200 yards 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown. And so yeah, just the kind of guy who had his 15 minutes of fame this week, who I think this show is completely suited for. Send it over to Yhonathan.
Yeah, so I actually want to take you guys into the exciting world of Uzbekistani soccer.
Oh, yeah. Qualified to the World Cup for the
This is
first time
true.
ever.
This is true.
Yeah.
That's not what we're going to be talking about, though.
Not obscure.
Very much not obscure. So, do you guys know someone by the name of Dilshad Kamalov?
You know, I can't.
I wish
say
I might
much.
have.
Can't say
Started watching soccer enough, I guess.
Man, yeah.
He's a defender in the Uzbekistani First Division. Yeah, so he's made quite a name for himself. 26 years old. He started almost every game for his team this season. His team's off to a great start. They're in the top half of the league. And he also recently got his first cap on the Uzbekistani national team, so congrats to Dilshad. But recently in a game, a league game, he was asked to get subbed off halfway through the match around the 50th minute, and he just refused to get off the pitch. He just did not the coach was calling for him, the sub was ready, and he just did not get off. And this is pretty disrespectful already. And then he waited 5 more minutes. The coach waited 5 more minutes. And then he tried to sub him off again. And you're like, keep in mind, they're holding up the substitution board and everything. Everyone is ready. And again, he just refuses to get off the pitch. Does not get off. He stays. He kept shaking his head at his coach.
Wow.
So, yeah. And the funniest thing is that the player that was going to sub in for him just didn't get in. It's like the 90th minute. And then the coach, I guess, felt bad. So he just subbed him in for someone else. Completely messed the game up. The team did win though, so maybe he knew what he was doing. But the point is that a day later, the club terminated his contract.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
he's currently
Okay.
jobless.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Yeah,
it's just
that's one
unfortunate.
final stand for him.
yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, for Kizilkom Zarafshon.
Did
which,
we get the
yeah.
pronunciation?
yeah,
I don't know pronunciation, but
trying my best. They're currently 8th in the Uzbek
there
league.
you go.
We wish Dilshad the best in his career, and we will be following it closely.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, they're
The world is watching.
Yeah. Well, speaking of careers or eras that came to an end, with us going through our Obscure Ballers week, we now head into our deep dive portion of this show. We have Yoni in for his deep dive segment, which we're really excited about. Talking about one of the craziest sports relocation stories of the many sports relocation stories in America. Looking forward to it. Take it away.
Right. So, how many of you are familiar with the history of the NHL at all?
Not
you
a
know,
ton.
to a certain extent. Like they play hockey, you know. Blackhawks. Yeah. Chicago Blackhawks, multiple Stanley Cups.
I know the Blue Jackets are bad. That's about it.
That's a true statement. So, anyway, in 1967, the NHL was 6 teams, and so they expanded to 12 teams in the same year. It was absolutely crazy. The talent level was just absolutely off the charts because every team went from having insanely deep rosters to having almost no one. And one of the teams that they added was an expansion team in Minnesota, and they were called the North Stars. For a while, they were decently successful, and then in around the 70s, there was this other league called the WHA, and the WHA basically did what the ABA did, or what Liv tried to do with PGA, and where they would poach the players and they would inflate the salaries, and it basically caused chaos in the NHL because the players were making astronomically high salaries compared to the revenue that was going in, and the attendance was down everywhere, and so teams started running into money issues. The North Stars were one of those teams. So in the 70s, they merged with this other team called the Cleveland Barons, and they became one team. They became the new North Stars. And their owners were George and Gordon Gund. They're from Cleveland. They owned the Cavaliers for a while. And then in 1990, they were still playing in the same stadium that they had played in in 1967 called the Met, and it clearly needed a ton of upgrades. It was kind of falling apart. And the Guns went to the Metropolitan Sports and Facilities Commission, which was a commission in Minnesota. They owned the Metrodome, and they somehow acquired the rights to the Metropolitan Center, which is where the North Stars played. The Metropolitan Sports Commission had a $300 million surplus, according to the people that I talked to, and they the North Stars only wanted 15 million, and they were told no. So they were offered no. They were literally laughed at when they asked for more money.
Dang.
Wow.
And then the Guns also tried to buy this team called the Mall, or tried to buy this little store called the Mall of America. It's a little bit of a thing now.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And they were also stopped by Simon Property Group, which now owns the Mall of America. And so they said, screw this, we're out. And so they sold the team to some guys, and they didn't own the team for very long because one of the minority owners, by the name of Norm Green, if you even mention his name in Minnesota, everyone will hate you. There are
Wow.
there are shirts that stores sell that say Norm Green sucks on them, and they sell out within minutes. And he bought the
Persona non
team.
grata.
Yeah. Thinking the same thing.
And so he bought this team, and he said that he wanted some public funding. And the Metropolitan Sports and Facilities Commission once again said no. Then they tried to get the team to move to Target Center, which is in Minneapolis.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's a little bit weird because the MSFC was appointed by the Minneapolis City Council,
Mhm.
and they were running a building which was not in Minneapolis. So they
Oh.
wanted because the Met Center was in Bloomington, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. It's
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the airport is. It's where Mall of America is. It's about like 15, 20 minutes away, and when there's traffic. And so they wanted the team to move to Minneapolis, and the team did not want to move to Minneapolis. They wanted to upgrade the Met Center. And so they kept going back and forth for a while, and it got really, really intense. And the governor was like trying to intervene, and then nothing was getting done. And then they decided that they were going to relocate the team. And so the team moved to Dallas. And then
Yeah.
6 years after they made it to Dallas, they won the Stanley Cup. A lot of the key pieces on that team were from Minnesota, and everyone was absolutely devastated. Minnesota was kind of sad. And then but 2 years before that, they had announced that they were going to be bringing the Wild to Minnesota. And the Wild, because of what happened with the North Stars, the Wild got like $285 million in funding.
Really?
From the mayor, the governor, everyone was
Everybody
trying
was
to help
like,
them.
pour money into
Yeah.
that.
And so
Guys, we did not do it. Like, forget about the time we forgot or refused to fund your team. Please forget.
Another 200 million for the Wild.
And so now it's 25 years later, and the Wild are trying to get money to upgrade their new stadium. And so the state government is remembering back to what happened with the North Stars, and so they're negotiating with the Wild for
Yeah.
a pay structure so that the team doesn't leave again.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like an NHL market, it probably does not get much more appropriate
Yeah,
than
It's the
Minnesota.
state of hockey. It's the state. It's
Like-
literally the state of hockey.
Yeah.
It's our nickname. The U.S. Hockey
Right.
Hall of Fame is in Minnesota. They're
Yeah.
building a Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame, and if you take an NHL team away from there, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
And,
it's
and, like, no
Minnesota.
disrespect whatsoever to Dallas, but like if I'm the owners of a Minnesota hockey team and like for whatever reason there's some road bump in like building a new stadium there, like I'm doing everything I can to keep the team. Like because like just from a business standpoint, like I don't even know like it just seems dumb
It-
to
It was a little dumb. Norm Green actually sold the team 3 years after
Really?
he moved the team to Dallas
Wow.
because he started to lose money again.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Is there any bad blood between the Wild and the North Stars right now?
Or like the Dallas, yeah.
The Stars, I mean, they're in the same division, so there's a little bit of a rivalry. The Stars really have no connection to hate Minnesota, so it's
Mm.
not as big. Like, I would say the Wild and the Blackhawks are a lot more intense of a rivalry, or with Winnipeg or St. Louis.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, like, and also too, like, I feel like looking at the Wild, like the colors and the branding and like the
Right.
logo,
Yeah.
like, like when you brought up like the Minnesota North Stars, and I was going to like make the graphics for like the socials, like generally their jerseys are fire.
They're so fired
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
Wild brought them back.
Right,
They
right.
used them as like
It's the same-
throwbacks
yeah,
for
it's the same
years.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, which is always weird because it's like when teams like when like the Browns or no, like the Houston Oilers or whatever
Yeah.
will use like the jerseys from when their team was in like a completely different city, right?
The
Yeah.
Grizzlies
Like
do the
that's
same
such
thing,
a
the Memphis
weird
Grizzlies.
throwback.
What I find kind of interesting is that when the North Stars, so obviously the North Stars, they went to Dallas, and then you have the Minnesota Wild. The history of the North Stars in Minnesota, it looks like it didn't go to the Wild franchise.
No, it didn't.
Right, it's still
The
with
Stars
Dallas.
still have the 1991
Right.
Stanley Cup Finals appearance, the like 80
That-
81
That's
Cup
so
Finals
weird to me
appearance.
because, like, for example, with the Charlotte Hornets, like when they moved to New Orleans, became the New
Yeah.
Orleans Pelicans, but then the Hornets, well, they came back as the Charlotte Bobcats and then the Charlotte Hornets again. They got all of that franchise history and all of those records back to Charlotte, right? So, yeah, that's
Yeah,
weird
it's
that
the
the
same with
records didn't.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
It's the
same
same
with
with Browns.
Cleveland,
Yeah,
with the
exactly. Yeah.
Browns, right?
Well, I mean, in the
Um,
Browns case, they only have like they only have so much.
But I mean, and like it does remind me a lot of the Seattle Supersonics too, right? Like the
Yeah.
the team leaving, finding immediate success with their new location, everyone really upset about it. I mean, and you go to Seattle, people to this day still wear Supersonics jerseys. They still buy like it's
They
crazy.
still want a team there too.
They still want a team there, and
Yeah.
it looks like they might
They're-
get one with expansion.
I'm hoping they'll
Okay,
get one.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that's
No, I mean,
that's
like
crazy.
my thing too is like American like sports relocation too is like it's so weird to see a team like the Utah Jazz that used to be the New Orleans Jazz, right? And it's like Jazz has no connection to the state of Utah
no.
whatsoever,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And it just like I feel like in American sports, like there is an understanding more so than like even in like globally, like and like going to like the sports and politics thing of like the teams that we have in the U.S. don't really have a connection to their cities, right? And it like
Well, sometimes they do.
well, yes,
but
yes, sometimes they
yeah.
do. Sometimes they do. But I think like it's so weird when I'll see like a team threatening relocation and fans being like, it's billionaire owners like it's his prerogative to be able to move his team wherever he wants if he wants more money.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's such a weird
It becomes
concept to
very
me,
corporate,
right?
yeah.
Like
Um,
to think of like sports teams as like billionaires' little toys,
That's
right?
what happened. That's what happened with the Twins.
Yeah.
Right.
The Polads just went into like $500 million of debt on their
Mhm.
assets, and so that's why they sold off 40% of their roster at the deadline to
Mhm.
make that money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy to like think about that like I mean there's like not really a regard for kind of like that fans can have an input, which I mean I guess is why Green Bay is such a like
Right.
a
Such a-
asset,
yeah.
right
And-
over there.
and like regionally, right, when you talk about like sports, like not having a hockey team in Minnesota is like not having an NFL team in Texas or not
It's
having
exactly
a basketball
like
team in
that.
Indiana,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just insane to me that there was a period of time where like Minnesota just didn't have an NHL team. But anyways, that's a fantastic deep dive, Yoni. We will now move on to our third segment.
Yeah. And I might want to I kind of want to introduce this one.
Go ahead.
Because we kind of came up with this politics and sports episode really with one particular case in mind that I will not use for this game. But our game is titled More Than the Game, right? Beyond the spectacle on the field, the sporting arena is a political tool that governments can use to reinforce their ideology and where communities can make their voice heard. We want to hear a story from you guys of a time an athlete or a team used the arena as a platform to take a political stand, or a time when the government used sports to galvanize their people around a common platform. The reason why we made this a game is because of the story of Ronnie Brunswick.
Yes.
In 2021,
Yes.
the Surinamese vice president, politician, businessman, former rebel leader, footballer, convicted drug trafficker.
Yes. Yes.
But
yes.
we are obsessed with the idea that in 2021 this guy he owned a soccer team called Intermo and Getapo
Yep.
and went into a real continental soccer match against a team from Panama, Olympia.
Yep.
Played in that soccer match at the
Yep.
age of
He was 60, I believe.
yeah, of around 60.
Yeah.
60. At the age of 60. For 60 minutes, subbed himself out for his son, And then after the game, there's video of him handing out cash to the teams in the other locker room. So that's kind of where we introduced this game. I'm glad that didn't take up too much time. So yeah, would anyone like to take it to start off?
Yeah, I can start us off.
Yeah.
So I'd like to also talk about some soccer here, but we're gonna go a little bit back in time. I love using the time machine here. We're gonna go to the 1936 Summer Olympics. Very highly politicized sporting event. The Peruvian national team, the soccer team, was playing Austria
Not
in
the
the quarterfinals.
Must be noted that not the least because it was in Berlin.
Yes.
In 1936, which was
1936. in
not
Berlin.
a great time to
Yes.
be in Germany.
in Nazi Germany. And Peru at the time had a golden generation, right? Like this was a really good Peru team, with legends like Lolo Fernandez. They were right up there with like Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and this is a team that probably could have medaled. And they're playing Austria. They end up going into extra time. They had 5 extra time goals disallowed, 5, but they still won 4-2. So they won 4. Yes. So they won 4-2 against Austria after extra time. And there was someone in the audience that really didn't like it. Adolf Hitler, Austrian born, was in attendance and he did not accept the result of the game. He could not accept the fact that the Peruvian national team had defeated the Austrian national team, so he demanded a rematch. He demanded a replay. And Oscar Benavides, the president of Peru, and the team itself were like, nah, like we're not playing you again. Like we already destroyed you. I mean 4-2, but really like 9-2 if we're being honest. And yeah, so they just were like, if you don't let us go on to the semifinals, we're just gonna pack our bags and leave. And so they left. They were just like, you know what, like we're not gonna play your games. We're not gonna, do this rematch just because Hitler told us to. Which and yeah, I mean, of course, politically, right? Like it was just very I mean obviously racial. It was
Yeah.
obviously like discriminatory, like it was clearly highly politicized. So Peru, they just didn't want to mess with that. This is a Peruvian national team that they would go on to win the 1939 Copa America, which is the continental championship for South America, the first of 2 that Peru has won. We've talked about the second one on this show. And again, this is a time, an era that was dominated by, I mean, Uruguay won that first World Cup in 1930, and then in 1934 and 1938, Italy did win the World Cup, but a lot of those players were nationalized Argentine and Uruguayans, of Italian descent. So they, grew up and, started their football careers, their soccer careers in South America, and then represented Italy on the international stage. So South America was very much, and still is, of course, a center of global football. And Peru, mighty Peru, as I always like to say, managed to get a trophy, and I like to think could have gotten a gold medal at the Olympics as well.
1936. I in terms of a situation where you turn down a gold medal.
Oh yes,
I
of
think,
course. No, they took a stand. I
Like,
mean, yeah.
ethically speaking, I think like that takes so much courage.
Yes,
And
no.
if you think about it, like an Olympic gold, even in 1936, when it's like not like the event that is today,
Yeah.
like it's still like a world lifetime achievement, national
Yeah.
hero.
No,
But
absolutely.
even like I can imagine like if they refused to play the game, they would have been killed.
No,
turning
absolutely.
them
I mean, they were received in Peru as, as heroes, basically. Pretty much like they should have medaled, right? The match has been called as the history of dignity, right? Like definitely, very much like highly regarded within the Peruvian soccer mythos. But anyways,
And I will say,
Yeah.
like, if you made a list of bad things that happened in Germany in the 1930s,
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Oh, yes. No, it's
It's
just
so
yeah.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's more just an echo of the effects of Nazi Germany within sports,
Mhm.
right? And it just shows that like that kind of ideology and those kind of highly politicized sporting events, right? Like it impacts
Yeah.
everything.
And
right?
also, like, it's pretty clear that, like, Hitler wanted those Olympics to be a show of, like,
Yes.
German.
He
and,
was using it as a
yeah,
platform.
exactly.
He was using it as a platform for his political
Broadcasting,
ideology.
all that stuff.
And then of course we know that ended in World War II. So
Mhm.
very very political. But anyways, I'd like to throw it over to you guys. Go ahead.
I can start. Keep going with the soccer theme.
Yeah.
So, if anyone who was watching soccer pretty much in the mid 2000s will remember this or will know something about this. But basically, in 2002, there was a civil war in the Ivory Coast, uh, and there was a group of rebels that was dissatisfied with their leader and the president, so they took over pretty much the entire north side of the country. So the country was divided into two. Um, so the north side was the new forces of the Ivory Coast, which was the rebellion group, and the south side was like the actual government of the Ivory Coast at the time. Uh, and in this time, in 2005 specifically, the Ivory Coast was trying to qualify for their first ever World Cup. Now, this looked like a prime time for them to qualify. This is sort of like they were beginning their golden generation of Kolo Touré, young Yaya Touré, and led by Didier Drogba, who's who I want to talk about today. So, going to the last match of qualifications in 2005 for the 2006 World Cup, the Ivory Coast needed to win, and they needed Cameroon to lose a game. Now, the games both started at the same time, and the Ivory Coast game ended early, and they won their game, so they did their part. And then so after the game, they were all huddled together around a radio, listening to the commentary from the Cameroon game. Cameroon was losing miraculously, and then the last minute they got a penalty, and they missed the penalty, which means Ivory Coast qualified for their first ever World Cup. Now, this was a time of like crazy joy. Everyone that was in the country at the time said that everyone forgot about the Civil War and they were just celebrating the national team's victory. And Didier Drogba, who's sort of considered the leader of the Ivorian national team at the time, played for Chelsea, one of the all-time
yeah,
greats.
yeah,
Legend.
Yeah. So he gave a speech in front of Ivorian national television. Like they came into the locker room and filmed him speaking and essentially calling for the country to unite and end the war and basically asking for a ceasefire. And this clip was played for months. The specific clip of Drogba, you can still find it on YouTube if you want.
Yeah.
A specific clip of him begging the Ivory Coast leaders to talk and negotiate. And after a few months of pressure being spurred on by this clip of Drogba talking, they did agree to a ceasefire. And after the World Cup in 2007, they have played a match in the north side of the country in the middle of the rebellion group's territory, which was sort of seen as a moment of unity when the national team played there. And they won the game there too, so
Yeah.
big times.
Always helps.
No, and that just shows how soccer is so powerful, right?
Mhm.
Like on a national level and international level.
Yeah.
But we'll
Yeah.
we'll
for
throw
sure.
it over to Yoni. Yeah.
All right. So I'm still a hockey fan, so I'm obviously gonna
Yeah,
go
go
back.
ahead,
to,
go ahead, please.
to kind of keep with the Olympics theme.
Yeah.
So in 1980, the Miracle on Ice was
Mhm.
one of the greatest upsets in Olympic history.
Yeah.
The Soviets had been dominant for 4 straight Olympics, every gold from 64 to 76. They won all of them, and the U.S. couldn't really do anything about it. And so then they brought this team of basically college kids, and most of them were from Minnesota or they were from Boston, and they were playing the Soviets, who had just beaten the NHL All Stars in a 3-game series, like the best players in the in the North America, and the U.S. lost to them 10-1 in their last exhibition game right before the Olympics in the same Lake Placid arena, where they would go on to win, led by their captain, Mike Ruzzioni. And this really united the country in a moment of very high tension. It was 1980, so the Cold War was a very high thing. It was very highly talked about. It was very negative in the U.S. And then the U.S. won on their home turf.
Yeah.
And it was bananas. It was like a party. Air Force One came to Lake Placid and flew the U.S. hockey team down to the White House for a state dinner, and they had like a party, and they still talk about the political impact of the miracle to this day. There's a bill that's currently going through Congress called the Congressional Gold Medal Act, and they're trying to give the Congressional Gold Medal to the 1980 U.S. hockey team. It's a bipartisan bill, especially right now. That's super important.
Yeah.
And they've got all this support, and it's going to get passed. It's already passed House and Senate, and they just need to send it on to the president to sign.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it speaks to a lot of the stories that we've brought up today of, like, when sports, like, all of these things outside of the stadium, can really charge a moment stronger than, like, in the end, a hockey game is just 10 guys trying to skate on ice, and trying to put a little black disc into a net. You know,
But sports can bring people together, it unifies people, and you can also use it to take a stand, to use that platform to really make an impact.
yeah, it means so much more, and we're so glad that you guys were on the show today to kind of
absolutely.
enlighten
Thank
us
you guys
about that.
for having
So
us.
thank
Yeah.
you to Yoni, thank you to Yhonathan for being on the show. I'm Tomas Moran.
I'm Sivaraman. We will see you next week, same time, same place, OACR, 7 to 7:30 on YouTube and 89.3 FM.
Absolutely. We the Sickos.
Stay sick out.